G'day guys, my name is John Shane, and today I'm going to show you how to make this scene in Blender, step by step. It's an easy, fun little project, and I hope you guys enjoy. Let's get started. We're going to get started by selecting everything in our default scene, and pressing X and delete. Awesome, now we're going to get started by going Add, Mesh, and we're going to go ahead and add a circle. And where it says vertices over here, I am going to go ahead and make that 5 instead of 32. And I'm going to go into edit mode, and we're going to, with that selected, press E to extrude on the Z. I shoot it up like that. Press A to select everything, and Control N to correct the normals. And then we're going to go to front orthographic view, select these guys, pull them up like that, extrude again on the Z, size that in, and then we're going to press F to close that. And now we have this thing here. Now one thing we could also do is select these guys down the bottom, size them in a little bit like that. Cool. Now with this guy selected, I'm going to go ahead, go into Cycles, Render, go over here and our Materials panel, and we're going to add a new material, and I'm going to call that Crystal, like that. And instead of having a diffuse, we're going to make that a glass material. Awesome. And to make sure it's applied, I'm going to go ahead and change the preview color to something like that. Okay, next step is to duplicate this. I'm going to go with this selected, Shift, duplicate, right click, and then rotate it, size it in, and move it to the side. I'm going to do my right view, rotate it a bit, and then Shift, duplicate it again to the side, like that, size it just a little bit, rotate it like that, and Shift, duplicate that again, size it a bit, Shift, duplicate again, like that. And I'm also going to go ahead and create another kind of one called like this that's a bit shorter. So Shift, duplicate this guy, go to edit mode, up like that, go into front view, move it like that. Never mind. Go to the right view, and I'm going to rotate it like that. See, what I did wrong here is I shouldn't have, and I moved it in edit mode. What I should have done is in edit mode, move that guy down like that. So the pivot point, that little orange dot, is down the bottom. Now when I go into tab into object mode, it'll rotate around its proper pivot point. Okay, and grab this guy, go to my right view, Shift, duplicate, move him here like that, and I'm going to size it down. And maybe make a few small ones. Duplicate, make them nice and small, rotate all these little shards, and usually with these shorter ones, I try and make them a little bit pointier, like that. Shift, duplicate that guy, stick him in there, and something like that. Pretty much the whole point here is you're trying to make it look like something you'd see in nature. You don't want it to look too procedural, too the same. You want them all to have their own unique kind of style. And I think I'm going to go with something like that for now. So I'm going to press A to select everything, select this big guy here, and I'm going to press Control J, and that's going to make all of this one object. That's cool. Now the next step is going to be to add a camera to our scene. So I'm going to go ahead in front view, I'm going to go camera, select that, and create a camera. I'm going to go to my camera view, and with my camera selected, I'm going to pan out, pressing G, middle mouse wheel, and I'm just going to press G. It allows you to move around, and I'll move my camera to something like this. But one thing I'm going to do, instead of just having this guy in the right in the middle, we're going to use a little compositional technique that makes it look more aesthetically pleasing. So what I'm going to do is in your camera settings here, with the camera selected, you can see here it's something called compositional guides, and we're going to change that to thirds. Now usually when you use a rule of thirds, things tend to look a little bit more professional, a little bit nicer. And what we're going to try and do here is we're going to have an object on this line here, And then we're going to have another object on this line, but it's going to be further in the back. And this is going to create a really nice a thing that your mind finds really pleasing. That the human, this thing in our mind where when things are placed a certain way, it makes us feel like we can enter that scene. It makes it look more appealing instead of just having it things put all over the place. And that's what these guidelines are for. So I'm going to go ahead, shift duplicate this guy, and move it to the back to about there. And another thing I should probably do is add with my cursor in the center, make sure the cursor is in the center, and go add mesh. I'm going to add a plane. I'm going to size it up to about there. I'm going to size it on the X and go into edit mode. And with my edge select, I'm going to pull this guy out, extrude it up like so. Select this edge here and press Control B to bevel that, and we're going to middle mouse wheel to scroll that in to create all these segments. And I'm going to go with something like that. And also I'm going to enable smooth shading on here. And now we have a nice little backdrop. Back into camera mode. Also, with that selected, just size an X in object mode so it fills in all the spaces. Terrific. Now what we're going to do is I'm just going to go to in my camera view, I'm going to press Control B, and we're going to create this little box here. And all this little box does, instead of rendering everything outside, it only renders what's within the box. So it's just nicer, and it also makes things render a little bit quicker in the viewport. So I'm going to go here, press the camera. I think I have to move out just a little bit more, like that. And also I'm going to go to my world settings, use nodes, and I'm going to make it about there. So now it's a bit lighter. Now going to front view, I'm going to go and add the all essential lamps. So I'm going to go add a sun lamp. G, move this guy here, rotate him, get to the top, rotate it like that. Shift duplicate, I'm going to take this guy and rotate him like that. I'm going to go to edit mode. We're going to have something that looks like this. Now this guy is leaning out of the camera a little bit, so I'm going to size that down, rotate it a little bit to the side, and this guy over here I'm going to rotate on the Z so it doesn't look quite the same. I'm going to shift duplicate, move it here, rotate it, bring it down, and I'm going to go to edit mode. I'm going to Control L, X, delete those faces, go select this one, and I'm just going to essentially delete a few of these to make it look a little bit different. Maybe Control L, size this guy up a bit, like so. That's awesome. This kind of reminds me of those old StarCraft minerals, you know, that the little workers collect. Anyway, maybe rotate this guy, something like that. And I think that looks almost right. Yeah, something like that looks really aesthetically pleasing. Maybe this guy, shift duplicate, rotate, size that down a bit. It kind of doesn't matter if they go into each other like that, because you know, crystals can grow into each other, and really who's going to care as long as it looks good. Yeah, something like that. Let me size that quite a lot. Yeah, that looks really good. I'm happy with that. So now we have our scene, we have a lighting set up, we have a backdrop, and the next stage is going to be to go into the compositor and work on this material a little bit. So we're now going to go into our compositor. So I'm going to select the crystal, and I'm going to go here where it says default, and instead of it being on default, we're going to go into our composition settings here. And we have to go over here. Right now it's set to scene. So what we want to go ahead and do is enable the materials. Then here you'll see is our glass material. Now all this is essentially, it's just a boring glass node by itself, nothing interesting. So to make it look a little bit better, let's go into our camera view here, render. To make things look better, I'm going to go ahead and add a mix shader, put it between these two guys. And I'm also going to go ahead and add a transparent shader, put it underneath the glass shader, and I'm going to put it in the bottom socket of the mix shader. Now we want to change this to something like 0.15. I think that's a really good ratio. And here you can see it's starting to look a little bit better. It's not as dark, a little bit more light's coming through, but it's not too much light coming through. So You can play around with these settings. It really also depends on your lighting and your background and really individual taste, what you're looking for. But for me, this is a good value, so I'm going to go with that. Another thing, I'm going to give these crystals some color. Now, a good guideline when you're giving glass color, don't go extreme like that. That makes it look really bad. So you usually want to get something that's more in the lower ranges here. I'm going to go for, I think, a pinkish kind of color like that. I think that looks really good. Yeah, I'm going to go with that. And now with that done, that's pretty much all we're going to do for now, is go to my default scene again. And now I'm going to start doing the fun thing. Oh, before we get into our render stuff there, I'm going to just grab the camera again, and we're going to quickly set up camera focus here. Now, camera focus really gives it that extra level of realism, and it's something a lot of people a lot of times neglect to add to a scene, and it can really make things look right. So we're over here, which says display in our camera setting. We're going to go and enable limits. And over here, you're going to see an option called depth of field. And underneath there is something that says focus. Now, this first crystal is called circle. And now we kind of want our focus to be there. So I'm going to go ahead, select my camera again. And we're going to go here and select the circle. And over here, you can see that we have an option called radius. Now, we want to set that radius to something like 0.2. The reason I know that is because I've probably done this tutorial like 1,000 times now, and I have to keep restarting it. So yeah, I hope you guys really enjoyed this. So anyway, value of 0.2 usually works pretty good. And yeah, that's about what I'm looking for. I was right about the 0.2. So now, depending on how you set up your camera and the distances and things, and the size of your scene, that number might vary for you. So don't just, if it doesn't look right like mine over here, try playing around with this value here. But usually a value of 0.2, 0.3 is usually around about where you would put it. Anyway, that's it. That's what we're looking for. Now the fun part is time to render. So I'm going to go now to my render settings here. And there are a few things we want to look at here primarily. Before you press the render button, one thing we want to do is over here, change this to 1080p. And this one to 720, and we're going to take it from 50% all the way up to 100%. Actually, make this 1280. There we go. Yeah, 1280p. And we're also going to go ahead and uncheck the border because we don't want that render border anymore. And what else do we need to do? We need to go down to sampling, and over here you're going to see an option called render samples, and we're going to change that from 10 to something like 55. Now usually I'd set it to something like 200 or 300, but because this is a tutorial, I'm just going to keep it basic for now. So I'm just going to do 55, but you guys are welcome to go ahead and set as high as you want. Do keep in mind though that the higher you put that value, the longer your render times are going to be, so keep that in mind. Okay, now we're pretty much ready to start rendering, so I'm going to go ahead and press the render button. Yeah, I'll quickly skip ahead and show you guys when this is done. And here we have it, the finished render. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please like and subscribe my videos and stay tuned for more. The best thing you guys can do to help me and support me is just to subscribe and like my videos. It really helps, and I really do appreciate you people who have subscribed. I'll see you guys later, and enjoy the rest of your week.